My name is Oba, son of Kita, brother to Tade, who once laughed louder than the river and ran faster than the goats. I tell this story not to call glory to myself, but to honor the ones who bled, the ones who fell, and the ones who never saw the sun rise again. I, today, sit under the great tree, twisting a silver hair in my hand, heavy as stone, rough as a sorrow in my chest. This trouble began when we forgot the ways of the land. We took and took, burned the forests, broke the rivers, hunted even the mothers carrying babies. The white things had nowhere to hide anymore. Among them was a creature the old ones used to whisper about, but they had never seen. A silverback gorilla. Bigger than two fat cows tied together. Arms thick as young trees. Muzzles thicker than a blacksmith hammer. The silver terror revealed himself slowly through broken gates, crushed horns, and the metallic smell of blood thickening the air. The first human death was a hunter named Jide, whose spear lay stabbed beside him like a reed. After him, a mother fetching water vanished, leaving only a splash of red. Then, a child who had chased butterfly into the thick forest, lost with nothing left but a torn cloth stuck on a thorn. At first, these feared us. It crept at night, stole yam and snapped fences. But hunger kills fear. Rain grows when the homes are torn down. We called him the Silver Terror, but it was our greed that made him a terror. When the killing became too many to hide, the king called a meeting. 300 men gathered under the burning sun. Farmers, hunters, blacksmiths, fishermen, boasting and laughing, spears clashing against shield. They thought they were going to wrestle a stubborn goat, not face the wrath of the broken king of the forest. They argued over who should lead. Many pointed at Balogun, a loud man whose laughter filled the market square, whose fist could lift a goat in each hand. He made men feel brave with his shouting. But when they looked at me, a quiet hunter who once tackled buffalo into the thick bush, the elders nodded. Oba knows the ways of the beast, they said. He will lead the creature's heart. Some grumbled, some spat, but the king placed the leadership on my shoulders, and with it, a chain heavier than iron. Give me the spear, Oba, Ade boomed. I dragged the beast head home by dawn. The crowd roared approval, but behind their chairs, I saw their fear, marked by bravery. I remember Tade, reckless and charismatic, laughing when I warned him about hunting too deeply, killing too freely. His laughter stopped the day the Silver Terror claimed him. Guilt weighed heavily on me, urging me forward. I saw their pride, their jokes. They thought fighting Silver Terror would be like chasing a cow back into its pan. I stood before them and said, if I must lead, I will pick my warriors. Not all who laugh are fit to face death. They agreed, some reluctantly. First, I sent home all newly married men, all those whose wife is still new to their beds. Go home and fill your homes with sons, I said. You have no place in this match. They sent 70 men back, their hearts heavy, but their eyes thankful. We were left with 230. Then came the river test. The Ondo River was swollen with anger of the rainy season, its belly roaring. I made them cross it, touch the far bank, and bring back a stone bigger than a man's hand. Many jumping full of pride, the river swallowed some before their head even bobbed up. We pulled a few out, coughing blood. By sunset, only 200 had returned, dripping and humbled. Still not enough. I sent them into Adano forest alone. No fire, no weapon, just themselves and the sounds of the night. Hyenas laughed. The owls cried. Some men fled back before midnight, faced with white as ash. Others fell asleep when they stood. At dawn, 120 remained. The next night, 20 men came to me with shaking legs, saying they had dreamt of their mother's funeral. I sent them home without shame. Better than weep in life than die in fear. That left 100. I tested their vigilance, posting guards while others slept. 10 of those guards slept like babies, even with death breathing on their necks. I sent them home before the morning drums. We are now 90 strong men remaining. Then, as we prepared to march, 20 more men fled into the bush under the cover of darkness, leaving their weapons behind like shields of snakeskin. I did not call them cowards. I only said a prayer of their safety. 70 of us remaining. When the morning rose heavy with mist, I counted again and found that even amongst us, fear still roamed. 10 men dropped their spear, saying their hearts could no longer carry the weight any longer. I let them go. 50 of us remaining. But by then, the whole village was buzzing with anger against me. Oba has killed the warriors before they even faced the beast. They cried, he is worse than the silver terror. Mothers cursed me under their breath. Fathers spat when I passed. Even some warriors grumbled in their hearts. I carried this hatred like a second spear driven through my chest. The king called me to the palace that evening. His face was tired, his voice heavy. Oba, he said, they blame you, but I do not. You have left only those who know what it means to bleed for the living. Lead them. Save us if you can. I bowed low, though my heart was already broken. We marched to Urago Gorge, 50 tired men, silent men who no longer sang or joked. And then he stood. We saw him. The silver terror gorilla, taller than 2 men, heavier than the cattle fattest in the bush. His breath mist like the air, like smoke and fire. His muzzles buckle with range and smoke. He was stronger than a buffalo, faster than a hunting dog, more cool than any lion we had ever feared. His eyes watched us not with madness, but with the cold mind of a general ready for war. Had there been 2 like him, we would not have lasted a heartbeat. He moved first and death followed. His arms swung like thunderbolts. One blow scattered Gano's skull like a cracked calabash. 2 farmers threw their spear and ran screaming into the forest. We tried to surround him, but he fought with the skill of a seasoned warrior. He would feint, draw us in, and then strike where we were weakest. He baited our strongest forward and crushed them before the others could blink. I saw him rip Atigu clean in 2. The man's body torn at the belly, blood spraying the stones. Adigu lay gasping, his hand cloning the death, and whispered, Oba, kill me. Don't let me stay like this. I drove my spear through his heart, tears burning my eyes. The battle was a nightmare, slow and brutal. We aimed the beast's eye, the throat, the thin skin beneath the muscular arm. False hope came when we trapped him briefly in our net, only for him to erupt free, fiercer and angrier. Men died one by one, brave replaced with desperate prayers. We fought like rats against a lion. We threw stones into his face to blind him. We jabbed spear into his side. We swung him, biting, clawing, stabbing at the eyes, the throat, the stuff on the arm. He bled, heavy blood as steam on the stone. For every wound we gave him, cursed another brother. He killed without slowing down, even when half blind, even when blood poured from his mouth. His blood scattered apart, snapped necks, broke spines like beetlehood. He fought until the ground itself was red with our blood. Only when his knees buckled did I see my chance. I rushed, gripping a broken spear in both arms. I plunged into the sore spot beneath his ribs, where the heart still thundered. He staggered. He looked at me, not with hate, but forgiveness. Then the silver terror fell. The ground shook under his death. The grudge fell silent, save from the mourning of dying and the grasp of few who still breathe. We stood silent among the dead, dying, our brother swallowed as the grudge echoed our mourning. Back home, the village lay silent. The market was empty. Everywhere was cold, goats crying in abandoned places. I pressed the silver hair into the earth. My hands were shaking. I wondered aloud if anything but sorrow could grow from this blood-soaked soil. Of the 50 who marched, barely a handful lived to tell the story. We carried our brothers home. We buried those who we could bury in the forest. I planted the silver hair in the soil, hoping that from death, something good could grow. Was it possible for 50 men to kill a beast like the silver gorilla? No, it was not. Not by strength, but by bravery. Only by desperation, stubbornness, and the mercy of whatever God still listened that day. If you hear this story, remember, it is not how many march that matters. It is how many remain when the dust clears, and every hope lies broken on the ground. And even hear this, look at your own hands. Remember, what you take from the land will reclaim. And even those who survive do not leave the battlefield war.
The flames lit the night sky, casting shadows that danced like forgotten spirits. The sacred shrine of Uru was now a funeral pyre. Smoke coiled through the trees like ancestral ghosts returning to bear witness. Beneath the towering Iroquois tree, the oracle lay still, her robe scorched, her staff of lightning wood shattered beside her. The people stood in silence. Some cried in shame, others in relief, but no one dared speak her name. All except one. Prince Ikenna knelt beside her, blood and ash on his hands, eyes lost in the glow of a dying fire. In his trembling fingers was a burnt scroll, edges coiled like claws. He read the last remaining lines aloud, his voice hollow. The one you protect will be the hand that strikes you. The truth you seek will destroy your crown, and when the shrine burns, you will remember everything. Someone behind whispered, "Why did she betray us?" But Ikenna knew she didn't betray them, they betrayed her. It had all begun long before the fire, on a quiet morning beneath this same very tree, when the air was thick with dew and the sky unbroken. The oracle of Uru, Nwunye, was not merely a seer, she was the land's memory. Her voice held the weight of centuries, and her silence was feared more than thunder. She had been chosen by the gods, not through ceremony, but through burden. Burden to know what others feared, to feel what others dismissed. Her shrine, nestled at the edge of the forest, breathed with spirit. And though many visited her for wisdom, none dared linger too long, save one, Prince Ikenna. He had come not as royalty, but as a haunted man. For weeks, he had dreamt of the same vision, fire, betrayal, and a woman screaming beneath the Iroquois tree. Every night, the same scream. Every morning, the same silence. He stood at the entrance of the shrine, heart pounding. Muni looked up from grinding herbs and met his gaze. You've seen it, haven't you? She asked softly. He nodded. I see you die. I see fire. I see guilt, but I don't know whose. She sighed, stirring the herbs. Then it has begun. From that day forward, Munye changed. She stopped speaking prophecies. She rejected the royal offerings. When the sick and poor came to her for help, she turned them away with tears in her eyes. The people grew uneasy. Whispered turned to rumors. She's cursed, they said. She's hiding something. She lost favor with the gods. Only Ikenna defended her. She sees what we do not. Give her time. But the kingdom didn't have time. A sickness spread. First, the crops withered. Then the rivers slowed. And then the children fell ill. The king, desperate, summoned his council. She must be replaced, Chief Duru hissed, a man of wealth and envy. Duru had always seen Munye as a threat. Let us anoint a new oracle, one who speaks. But the gods chose the oracle, Queen Amaka said. Then let us help the gods choose. And so the seeds of betrayal were sown. In secret, Duru prepared a girl named Adaeze, an orphan of beauty and ambition. She had once studied Munye from afar, mimicking her gestures, learning her chants, memorizing the sacred texts she had once believed. The time had hardened her. The god had passed her by, and she would not be passed by again. With Duru's guidance, she became a vessel, not of prophecy, but of performance. In the forest, Munye felt the shifts in the wind. They move against me, she said to Ikenna. Then let me protect you. You cannot protect me from prophecy, only from yourself. I would never betray you. She handed him a scroll sealed in red wax. Burn this when the shrine burns, not before. He didn't understand, but he took it. The trial came quickly. It was declared that the gods would judge between two oracles. Side by side, Munye and Adaeze called upon the spirits. Whoever they answered would be named the voice of the gods. The people gathered. Some came to see justice, others came for blood. Adaeze stood in white, her hair adorned with cowries, her eyes painted in mimicry of Munye's sacred marks. She smiled gently, but her hands trembled ever so slightly. Munye stood silent. The ritual began. The chants rose. Smoke coiled from incense. For minutes, nothing happened.
Oduana kingdom brooded with thunderclouds, as if the heavens themselves mourned a truth yet to be spoken. Deep within the marble-walled palace, Prince Adatona paced the mosaic floors of his late father's private chamber, his eyes fixed on the scroll in his trembling hands. It was a sealed document marked with the royal crest, an aged lion whose eyes glinted like they held secrets too old to forget. The wax seal had been untouched until now, broken only upon the king's passing. And within it lay words that would upend everything the young prince thought he knew. A man who carries a basket of secrets cannot dance in the market. His grandmother used to say that with a chuckle. Now the proverb felt like a burden pressing against his chest. The letter was simple in form, yet heavy in truth. If you're reading this, my son, it means the crown sits heavy on your head. Know that the peace we enjoy is not as it seems. Your mother was not the queen they told you of. She was a slave girl from Mukiri, gifted to me as a peace token in a war that was never truly won. The blood that runs in your veins is not purely royal by our people's standard. And if the council knew, they would burn the throne to the ground. Adatona's breath caught in his throat. His mother, Queen Olufunke, had died when he was a boy, her image preserved only in paintings and hushed palace whispers. But this shattered the illusion. He remembered her gentle smile, the lullabies she hummed in a tongue different from his tutor's, the way the other queens eyed her but never challenged her presence. And it wasn't just his lineage that threatened the throne. The king's words continued, revealing a pact made with the warlords of Ukiri, a secret tribute of innocent children, taken once every 5 years, sacrificed in exchange for peace. Their bodies buried in unmarked graves at the edge of Ijakati forest. Adatona staggered backward, the scroll slipping from his hand like a cursed thing. Sacrifices? His people? Children? His kingdom had won accolades for peace and prosperity, yet behind the golden veil, there was blood. His mind raced. He thought of the festivals, the national holidays marking each era of peace, the lanterns sent into the sky. All celebrating silence, all built on a lie. The door creaked. "Your Highness," a voice called softly. It was Bamidele, his loyal guard and closest friend since childhood. "You summoned me?" Adatona stared at him, unsure if the air between them was still safe. "Yes, dearie. Tell me, have you ever been to Ijakati Forest?" Bamidele's eyes shifted, just slightly. "Only as far as the riverbanks. The elders say the deeper part is cursed." "Why?" Adatona studied him. "Do you believe everything the elders say?" "No, my prince, but I believe in patterns. And I know every 5 years someone's child goes missing in the kingdom, and no one ever raises their voice." The silence that followed was dense, heavy like the air before a storm. "Come with me," Adatona said. "Tonight." Under the veil of night, cloaks draped over their royal garments, the prince and his guards slipped beyond the palace walls. The guards were bribed with silence and gold, just enough to ask no questions. The moon was a thin sickle in the sky, barely lighting the narrow forest path. Ijakati Forest whispered with ancient winds and the sounds of night beasts. The further they went, the colder it became. There were markings on the trees, dashed strange symbols etched deep into bark. Charcoal, blood, and something older. They pressed on. Then they saw it. A clearing, freshly dug earth, still moist with morning dew. And half buried beneath the soil, bones, dozens. Small, innocent, Adatona fell to his knees, bile rising in his throat. This was no myth. This was no tale to frighten children. This was done by our kingdom, he whispered. "No, my prince," Bamidele corrected gently. "This was done by our kings." A scream tore from Adatona's soul. A silent scream that only the forest heard. They returned to the palace before dawn, shadows clinging to them like mourning cloths. Adatona said nothing for days, but his silence was loud. He stopped attending the court, refused to eat at the royal table, and avoided the council of elders. He would spend hours in his late father's chamber, tearing through old scrolls, hidden compartments, and ledgers in ink faded by time. The whispers began. "Perhaps he is not ready to rule," muttered Chief Aro, head of the king's inner circle. "He is weak," sneered Aloy Sani. "A crown does not rest well on a boy with a bleeding heart." "But the people love him," warned Ialeki, the only woman on the council. "They see the boy who grew up among them, not the man crumbling beneath the crown." Still, pressure mounted. The coronation day loomed. But one heart heard his pain and came to him. She was a healer's daughter, known for her beauty and bold tongue. The prince had met her once, in secret, months before the coronation. She had eyes that dared to see a prince as a man, not a future king. She had grown up near the village boundary where tales of missing children were hushed with fearful glances and gestures to keep quiet. She found him in the royal garden, sitting beneath the bitter leaf tree. "You look like you have seen death and offered him your throne," she said softly. Adatona turned to her. Would it be wrong to do so? Adoranka sat beside him. If you must kill a truth to wear the crown, then the crown is cursed. And the throne weeps. He stared at her. How did you know? My father used to work for the council before they exiled him for asking too many questions about missing children. Before they poisoned his tea. Adetona felt the ground tilt. Why are you here, Adoranki? To remind you of the man you were before they placed a crown on your head. He reached for her hand, and in that moment something shifted in him. Love was not enough to bury a secret so vile. He had to choose. But could he? The coronation came. The entire kingdom gathered, robes of gold, drums that split the air, chants that rose like incense. Adetona wore the lion-stamped agbada of his forefathers, the crown held above his head by the chief priest. The moment froze. My people, he began, voice strong, I come before you not as a king crowned, but as a man awakened. Murmurs, our kingdom has lived in the illusion of peace. But peace bought with blood is not peace, it is debt owed to the gods of vengeance. Gasps, there are secrets buried beneath the soil of Ijakadi, secrets that the council has kept for decades. Children taken, sacrificed, chaos erupted, chiefs shouted. The chief priest dropped the crown, but Adetona raised his voice above them. My own blood may not be what you believe. My mother was from Ukiri, a war slave gifted to a king. Screams now. Women wept. Men stood frozen. If this disqualifies me, I accept it. But know this, no throne built on bones can stand. The time for cleansing is now. Before anyone could react, Bamidele and loyal guards stormed the platform, seizing the chief conspirators. The scrolls were revealed, bones brought as evidence. A few elders fainted. Others dropped to their knees, begging for mercy. By sunset, the council was in shackles. But not all rejoiced. That night, a mob formed dashmen loyal to the old ways. They called Adetona a bastard, a betrayer. They stormed the palace. Bamidele was wounded. Adoranka was taken. The prince burned with fury. He donned his sword and led his warriors into the night. Blood was spilled, not the blood of the innocent, but of those who chose darkness. The battle raged from the market square to the ancestral shrine. He found Adoranki in the shrine of Olokun, tied to a pillar as an offering. They had painted her face in the color of the condemned. You think you can rule with a slave's son and a witch's daughter? The priest spat. Adetona did not speak. He drew his sword and ended the madness. Months passed. Adoranka healed. The kingdom trembled, then began to breathe again. Word spread of the prince who rejected false peace. Neighboring kingdoms sent emissaries. Some feared his truth. Others envied his courage. A new council was formed. Sacrifices ceased. Memorials were built for the lost children. Names were carved in stone. Their families finally allowed to grieve. Adetona was crowned again, but this time by the people, not the priests. Farmers and traders, children and elders came bearing leaves and garlands. His mother's face, once hidden, now hung beside the former queen's in the palace gallery. Her true name inscribed Ajike of Ukiri, Mother of Renewal. And Adoranka stood beside him not just as lover but as queen, the healer's daughter who taught the crown how to listen. Still, some nights Adetona wandered to Ijakari forest, listening to the wind, listening to the silence that once masked a kingdom's shame. When the throne weeps, it is not from weakness, but from the burden of truth. And a man who carries truth must carry fire. For it is written in the old proverbs of Oduana, a child who washes his hands clean shall eat with kings. But a king who buries his hands in blood shall die with the forgotten. Adetona chose to wash his hands and to cleanse a kingdom, and for that the throne finally stopped weeping. The old man stood by the rusted gate, hunched beneath the weight of a small black nylon bag and the shame of 12 forgotten years. The Harmattan breeze rustled his threadbare shirt, and he tugged the collar as though it could hide his face. He didn't knock. He just stood there, waiting, hoping. Behind the curtain of the house, Amaka's fingers trembled around the edge of the window. Her breath caught in her chest as she stared at the figure outside. Him, Baba. Even after all this time, she recognized him. His hair was white now, his shoulders were smaller. The man who once lifted her with ease now looked as though the wind could carry him away. But it was him, her father, the man who vanished with a gunshot and left only silence behind. She let the curtain fall. The air in the room grew heavy. Her heart drummed in her chest, not with joy, but confusion, rage, grief, all tangled. Why now? Why after Mama was gone, after Deji was grown, after the world had already taught her how to live without him? She remembered the day they took him. The echo of sirens, Mama screaming until her voice cracked. Amaka, only 12, crouched in a corner holding Deji, who was too young to understand why policemen were shouting. The neighbors gathered like vultures. Someone had whispered. He shot someone, armed robbery. That night, their house no longer felt like a home. It became a tomb where Mama's sobs echoed and the air stank of fear. Amaka opened the door slowly. The rusted hinges groaned, as if even they disapproved. He looked up. Their eyes met. Amaka, he said, voice dry and papery. My daughter. She said nothing. I didn't know where else to go. She watched him. The old wooden bench beside the mango tree sat in silence, as though waiting for the ghosts of yesterday to sit again. Mama's gone, she said coldly. He closed his eyes. I heard. I wasn't told until it was too late. You didn't, right? I did. They never sent the letters. You didn't come. I wasn't allowed. And now you are? He nodded slowly. I served every day, every year, and then I waited. Ampaka's throat tightened. She wanted to scream, to hit him, to ask him where he was when Deji had fever so high he started to hallucinate, when she had to sell Mama's wedding ring to buy food, when she considered stealing a phone just to sell it, but couldn't do it, couldn't go as low as he had. You should leave, she whispered. His lips trembled. Let me see Deji. He's not here, he's in Unilag, and he doesn't remember you, not really. A breeze passed between them, and in it she swore she could hear Mama's voice. Faint, tired, weeping. I'll go, Baba said, eyes lowered. If that's what you want. But I had to see you. I had to try. He turned, his bag dragged behind him like an old sin. Amaka looked up at the sky. Rain clouds swirled above, the kind Mama used to call grief weather. She remembered her mother's soft hands, now cold beneath the soil of Yaba Cemetery, and how every year on Baba's sentencing day, Mama would light a candle and whisper, I married a good man once, but hunger is a thief too. The gate creaked open again. Wait, Amaka called softly. Baba stopped. Come in, you can eat, then go. He turned back, surprised. Tears shone in his eyes, but he blinked them away. She opened the gate. Not out of forgiveness,
but because hate was heavy, and she was tired. Later, after he'd eaten the small bowl of yam porridge she'd silently placed before him, Baba sat on the old bench outside. The rain had begun, soft and cold, dripping through the mango leaves onto his head. He didn't move. Amaka watched him from the doorway. She could hear Deji's laughter from an old video on her phone. He had just won a campus award for a poem he wrote. She had raised him. She had shielded him. She had taught him how to tie his shoes, how to survive Lagos buses, how to pray. And Papa had missed it all. She stepped outside, arms folded tight. He looked up at her. You have Mama's frown, he said with a weak smile. She didn't smile back. After a moment, she said, You can tell me what prison was like. He blinked. Why?
I want to know if you suffered.
Baba looked at his hands, weathered and scarred. I did. She sat at the far end of the bench, her knees stiff. Then tell me. He nodded slowly. The first year, I thought I'd die. I was put in a cell with men who no longer believed in God. I learned to sleep with my back to the wall. I saw a man stabbed for half a loaf of bread. I begged for soap. I washed my clothes with tears. I forgot what my children's voices sounded like. She didn't reply. There was a man there, he continued, voice cracking, Elder Jaide. He'd been in for 30 years. Said he found peace with God. He taught me the Psalms. I clung to them like food. Amaka looked away. I wrote letters every birthday, every Christmas. I wrote one when your mother died. I screamed for hours. They said I scared the new inmates. But nothing I went through in that place hurt more than knowing you were outside suffering. And I caused it. Ankaf's eyes were glassy. She bit the inside of her cheek. Did you ever think, she asked, what it was like for me? I watched Mama break a little more every day. One evening, I found her sitting in the dark, asking the wall if she was cursed. I'm sorry, he whispered. She stopped singing. A tear rolled down her cheek.
She used to sing while cooking, every evening, until one day she stopped. Then she stopped eating, then breathing.
I know, Baba said, voice barely a breath. She turned toward him. Do you know what it's like to raise a child when you're still one yourself? No. I worked at 16, sold boli by the road. People touched me, laughed at me. One man offered 5,000 naira if I'd go home with him. I almost said yes. I almost became like you. Baba's head snapped up. She nodded. I almost stole. I almost did things I can't even say. But you didn't, he said gently. No, I didn't. Because I kept hearing Mama's voice telling me, you're better than this, Amaka. We may be poor, but we still have our name. The rain was heavier now. Neither moved. Then, slowly, Mamaka reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, crumpled envelope. She had found it tucked into an old Bible Mama left behind. I found this after she died. She handed it to him.
He opened it with shaking hands.
Inside was a letter, his handwriting smudged from water damage. To my beautiful children, Amaka and Deji. I don't know if this letter will ever reach you, but I want you to know that I think of you every night. I dream of your laughter. I dream of Mama Zakara in the mornings. I dream of walking you to school again. I know I failed you. I know I deserve this cell. But I pray one day you will forgive me, not because I deserve it, but because hate is a poison that lives in the one who drinks it. And I pray that you live free. Baba's hands trembled. The letter fluttered in his lap. She kept it, Amaka said. She never told me, but she kept it. He covered his face with his hands and sobbed. Amaka sat still. The weight in her chest had shifted. Not gone, but moved. Deji is coming home tomorrow, she whispered. You can see him. But if he says you must go, you go. Baba nodded through his tears. She stood. The guest room has clean sheets. She didn't wait for a thank you. She walked inside, past the photos on the wall. One was crooked. Mama, smiling with her hands flour-dusted, holding a young Deji. She fixed the frame. She paused at the mirror by the door, looked into her own eyes, and whispered, I'm trying. Stay tuned for part 2, where Deji returns and faces the father he no longer remembers. Emotions will rise, secrets will be revealed, and one family will have to decide if broken can become whole again.
In the old land of Ilyawar, where big spooky baobab trees twisted toward the sky and the sun cooked the ground, there lived a prince named Adiemi. He was the only child of Oba Adekunle, a king so tough that people hid when he walked by. Adeyemi was tall, with skin black as night and eyes that looked lost, like he was always crying inside. Once he laughed loud and happy, but now his heart was a heavy stone, carrying a sadness nobody could see. The whole kingdom was noisy with hope because Adeyemi was 25 time to find a wife. The wise men threw their shells and said his choice would either make Ileore strong or tear it apart. The king called rich girls to the palace, pretty ones in colorful clothes, wearing shiny beads, smiling big. They wanted Adeyemi to pick them, but he didn't look. His heart was stuck somewhere else. With a poor beggar girl named Folake. Folake was a puzzle nobody could solve. She came from nothing. Her mother sold burnt plantains and died coughing when Folake was 12. Her father ran off, a shadow she never knew. Folake walked the streets alone, her body skinny like dry grass, her feet cut and bloody. Her eyes were deep and dark, like wells with no bottom, and her voice cracked from hunger and tears. She slept under trees or in the dirt, but how did she keep going? Something strange kept her alive, something secret. One night, Adeyemi rode through the market, hiding in old clothes so no one would know he was a prince. He saw Folake under a mango tree, her thin hands shaking as she made a basket from dead leaves. She sang a song so sad it hurt to hear, a tune his own mother used before she died. It pulled him off his horse, right to her side. "Why do you sing something so sad?" he asked, his voice soft. Folake jumped, her hands stopping. "It's my mother's song," she said, quiet and rough. "It's the only thing she left me." He sat in the dirt with her, not caring about his clothes. "Tell me about her," he said. Her words came out slow, like they hurt. She talked about a mother who smiled even when she was hungry, who worked until her hands bled, who said life was good even when it was bad. Adeyemi listened, his heart twisting. He gave her a coin when he left, but she pushed it back. "I don't take what I don't earn," she said, her eyes hard. He kept coming back after that. He brought her old food, stale bread, fish bones, soft bananas, and she only took it if she could give him something, like a broken mat or a nut from the ground. They didn't talk much, but they felt close. He told her how the crown scared him, how his father's love was gone. She told him how she slept in the rain, how her stomach growled, how dark shapes followed her in the night. What were those shapes? She wouldn't say, and it made Adeyemi wonder. But secrets don't stay quiet. People saw him with her and started whispering. The whispers grew loud, flying to the palace like angry birds. Oba Adekunle called Adeyemi, his voice booming. "Is it true?" the king yelled, hitting his stick on the floor. "Are you with a filthy beggar?" Adeyemi stood tall, even though he shook inside. "Her name's Folake, father. She's not filthy. She's my whole world." The king's face turned mean. "You're my son. You'll marry a rich girl, not trash. Stop this, or I'll stop you." "I can't," Adeyemi said, tears falling. "I love her." The king smashed his stick again, loud and scary. "Then you're not my son. Choose her, and you're dead to me." Adeyemi's heart cracked open. That night he ran to Folake. She was under the mango tree, coughing blood, her arm oozing from a cut that wouldn't close. He dropped beside her, sobbing. "They know," he said. "My father wants to end us." Falak's eyes were dull, her voice a whisper. "I told you, Adeyemi. I'm nothing. You're a prince. Leave me." "No," he said, grabbing her cold hands. "I'll marry you. I don't care what they say." She laughed, a sound like breaking bones. "And lose everything? I'm dying. See my blood? Go away." "You're my life," he cried, holding her tight. "I'll fight them." She pushed him off, weak and trembling. "You'll fight for a ghost? Leave me, please." He stumbled away, crying hard, but he wouldn't give up. The palace planned his wedding to Omotola, a tall, pretty girl with a heart like ice. Adeyemi hated her, but he couldn't stop it. Every night, he saw Folake in his dreams, chased by those dark shapes. What did they want? Then something awful came. A sickness hit Ileur, fast and cruel. People burned with fever, their skin popped with sores, and they screamed until they died. Babies turned blue, old people fell dead in the street, and the air stank of rot. The wise men said the gods were angry, but nobody knew why. The king got sick, his strong body shrinking. Adeyemi ran to Folake, finding her in the market holding a dead boy, her own face wet with sweat and blood. "Go away," she said, her voice gone. "You'll catch it." "I don't care," he said, falling beside her. "What's happening?" Her eyes were empty. "They say it's me. The priests think I made the gods mad because I love you. They're coming for me." Adeyemi's stomach dropped. He ran to the palace, yelling at the wise men, "Is this true? Are you blaming her?" The oldest one, thin as a stick, nodded. "The gods want her blood. She's the curse." "No," Adeyemi screamed, his throat raw. "You can't have her." The king, coughing blood, grabbed him. "It's her or us, Adeyemi. We're all dying." Adeyemi broke free and ran to Folake. People were around her, yelling, throwing stones. She was on the ground, bleeding, her breath short. He jumped in front, arms wide. "She's good," he shouted. "Take me!" The crowd stopped, but the priests came, singing a dark song. Folake touched his foot, her voice a tiny sound. "Let me go. If I die, you live." "No!" he cried, hugging her, tears soaking her rags. "I can't lose you." She looked up, blood on her face. "You already did." She pulled away, crawling to the priests. They dragged her to the big trees, her blood dripping in the dirt. Adeyemi ran after, falling, screaming, begging. The knife cut her chest, her cry was weak, and her blood poured out, red and thick. The rain fell, hard and cold, but her body stayed there, small and still. The sickness stopped the next day. People cheered, the king lived, but Adeyemi was a shadow. He married Omotola, his eyes dead, his voice gone. She had his babies, but he couldn't touch them. Every cry was Folake's scream. The king died, and Adeyemi became king, ruling with a heavy, sad hand. Years passed, and Ileora got rich, but Adeyemi got old and weak. Folake's name disappeared, her spot under the tree covered in weeds. One night, he snuck out, his body hurting, and went to the mango tree. He fell there, digging in the dirt, whispering her name. "Folake," he said, "I'm sorry." No sound came back. His heart stopped, and he lay still, tears on his face. At dawn, the palace found him, dead, holding a piece of her old basket, crumbled to dust. Then the ground shook, a big crack opened, and swallowed him whole. The people screamed, scared. Dark shapes moved in the trees. Folak's shadows watching, waiting. What were they? Why did they take him? Nobody knew. The kingdom covered the hole, burned the tree, and ran away, afraid of the curse that wouldn't die.